than banknotes, which were stolen from Belfast city centre. Tens, 20s, 50s and hundreds, 22 million in total. They were wheeled out of the bank on Monday evening in green boxes and steel trolleys. Suspicion has centred on Republican and Loyalist terror groups, but the investigation team is looking at all possibilities.
There are on record a number of gangs in Northern Ireland who could carry out an attack of this nature. But clearly, in terms of Northern Ireland, you have to take it as read. There are a number of paramilitary groups who clearly have the expertise, the numbers and the ability to carry this out.
Whoever it was managed to intimidate two bank workers into cooperating. Before the robbery, the family of a junior bank official, Chris Ward, was taken hostage at gunpoint in Dunmurry. Mr. Ward was then moved 20 miles away to Loughan Island, to the home of a senior bank official, Kevin McMullen. That house had already been taken over by men posing as police officers. Mr. McMullen's wife, Karen, was driven away and later abandoned near her burnt-out car.
This particular lady was kept masked, blindfolded for 23 hours at least. She made her way to a house where she was visibly distressed and upset. It's been a very traumatic incident.
That didn't bother the bank robbers. All they were interested in was the money. But one financial expert says the stolen cash may be of little use.
Burn it, abandon it, bury it, give it away, do anything you want, but don't go anywhere near it, because of the 12 million, for example, in new Irish pounds, there are serial numbers. It's immediately traceable. No, this is useless money. They might as well have stolen monopoly money. They probably could have had more fun with it.
Full details of what happened here 2 nights ago have yet to emerge. What we do know is that the group responsible is well organised, well resourced and not afraid to use guns. Tonight, however, there's no sign of them being caught. Mark Simpson, BBC News, Belfast.
A female executive has failed in a sex discrimination claim of over £7 million against the investment bank Merrill Lynch. An employment tribunal ruled that Stephanie Villalba had been unfairly dismissed from a senior post, but said she had not suffered discrimination. Plans to ban cod fishing in parts of the North Sea, Irish Sea and off the west coast of Scotland have been dropped by the European Commission. The move's been welcomed by fishermen, but criticised by conservationists who say radical action was needed to save stocks. From Peterhead, Andrew Castle reports.
In Peterhead today, they were landing the last catches before Christmas.
50 on a pig! 50 on a pig!
The fish market was quieter than normal, but it wasn't just the prices they were shouting about. The deal in Brussels means the North Sea fishing grounds on which they depend will now not be closed to the British fleet.
Usually at this time of year we expect the worst. The negotiations in Brussels have went a bit better than normal. There have been positive rumblings coming back from Europe. And yes, the town is a bit more excited about the prospects for 2005 for the fishing industry.
But there have been painful sacrifices. They were scrapping more vessels on the quayside today. Decommissioning has halved the size of the fleet in Peterhead as part of their contribution to conserving fish. Even so, the cod stocks continue to decline. 20 years ago, 90,000 tonnes of cod were landed. 10 years later, the catch was less than half of that. And last year, just over 10,000 tonnes was brought ashore. Scientists and environmentalists say the EU has ignored the evidence of terminal decline.
It seems that nothing is being done, nothing is being changed, in spite of the fact that the scientific advice from the scientists across Europe was that actually North Sea cod should be protected at all costs this year with a zero quota. We have the same quota, we have the same level of fishing activities as we had 12 months ago.
In the skies above the North Sea fishing grounds, government inspectors continue to monitor the fleet. Aboard Watchdog Flight 64, they're using new laser-guided cameras to record fishing activity.
We've been flying over the North Sea for just over an hour and a half now, and we're just going down to check out whether this vessel is fishing illegally. None of the vessels we've spotted so far today have been doing anything illegal, but as the restrictions coming out of Brussels get ever tighter, the temptation to cheat gets ever stronger.
With the fishing grounds still open, the future of the fish stocks depends on how well government inspectors can enforce existing EU rules. Andrew Castle, BBC News, over the North Sea.
A GP who faked blood tests to reassure parents worried about the effectiveness of separate measles, mumps and rubella vaccines given to their children has been jailed for 9 months. David Pugh admitted faking 4 test results at his Hertfordshire clinic to convince parents the vaccinations had been successful. A thief who stole dozens of rare maps from the National Library of Wales has been jailed for 4.5 years. Swansea Crown Court heard that Peter Bellwood made £70,000 from selling the maps. He's also thought to have stolen hundreds of rare maps from libraries across Europe. Vera Davis reports.
Peter Bellwood might not look it, but he was one of Britain's, indeed Europe's, most wanted criminals.
Where are the maps, Mr. Bellwood?
Here in Stockholm, we saw the extent of his crimes at the Royal Library, where he plundered the map collection.
It is very rashly, crudely and quickly done, so they have cut through several sheets at the time.
With a heavy heart, the curator told me how, posing as an academic, Bellwood vandalised 16th and 17th century atlases, cutting out at least 60 individual maps. The loss wasn't only financial.
These maps have been in Sweden since the 16th century in some cases, and owned by famous collectors and some of the Swedish kings. So in cultural respect it is a disaster, more or less.
Each one of these white slips marks where Bellwood used a razor to remove a valuable map. 60 here in Stockholm, but using similar methods in Copenhagen, London, The Hague and Aberystwyth. It's thought he removed about 4,500 valuable maps from libraries across Europe. Among those stolen, priceless works by Mercator, Speed and Ortelius. Even with the aid of this security footage from Copenhagen, you can only just see how, using a tiny blade, Bellwood sliced away at 400-year-old maps.
He was inconspicuous, he was rather shabby. He was, if you like, the typical scholarly inquirer. He realised that if you play the part of the bumbling academic, the security staff is slightly less likely to pay attention to you.
A map like this